prior minutes, and at this point, I can't even remember what's in them. I don't know why your statement of if it was a unanimous vote and it was taken by roll, I think that's all right for that set of minutes, but in the future, we'll do the other thing.
Which would be what? Which would be to name each person in a
Yep.
certain order?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You're ready to go whenever you want to start.
Yeah. Well, we're going. Are there any other comments about the minutes?
No changes, I don't think.
Yeah. I remember reading the task list, but that was separate from the minutes. That was before.
Do you want me to read them?
That was very handy.
Do you want me to read the minutes?
No. Anybody
Okay.
wanted to read the minutes?
Nope.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Anything to be said? I will call for the vote. I will vote aye. June?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Okay. The next thing on the list is to organize with the new members. And of course, we thought we'd have 2 new members instead of 1 reappointment. So,
Oh, 2?
So
You
we
said
thought
2.
we'd have Bob too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we don't have the 5th member. We still need a 5th member. We still have the same pressure we've had in the past that we need to fill that vacancy before we start having volunteers that aren't friendly. So, is there a motion for organization?
I think we can discuss it. I mean, I want to take that up at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting? You want
What?
to take that at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting?
Well, whichever way you want to. It's on the agenda up front because it usually is up front when you have a new, new members joining and stuff. But you want to do it at the end, we can.
Why don't we do that? So did
Okay.
everybody get? Did everyone get the email that the RFQ went out yesterday?
Yeah. So you had a good meeting with the selectmen.
Oh, yes, we did. Last week, we had a good meeting with the selectmen. We talked about the about the RFP and that whole thing and that whole prioritization. And we also talked about, we did bring up the issue of additional storage space, and we did bring up, what was the other one? There was another thing that we talked about a little bit, but enough so that it was on the record that we talked about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we're going to be able to deal with Margaret about the additional space. But I'm not talking to her about that till town meeting's over with, because we've just got too many things on our plate for this week. But after that, we will. The RFP also was reported by Margaret to the selectmen last night too. She reported that it was out and so forth yesterday at the selectmen's meeting last night. Is there more on the Bullard House right now?
No. At some point, we have to get back to cleaning it out. And my concern was, you know, if Tim, whoever, you know, is going to do the RFP, there's still material cleaning up at the back of the house, correct?
There's still what?
Materials from the Hearst house leaning up against the Bullard House.
Not, oh, yeah, a little bit, not much. That can be moved if it needs to be.
Okay, okay, which brings us back to that subject of the Hearst House. Is there anything happening with that?
Not yet. June.
The doors, as far as I know, the doors to the Hearst house lean up against the building in the back, and the sheathing boards are laid out under tarps
Yeah,
separately, freestanding a platform out there. So I
Yeah.
guess I would consider that a lot of material.
well.
Yeah.
The
Can we
doors,
store-
the doors are the part that's leaning against the house.
Yes, that's right.
The other stuff isn't leaning against the house.
That's true. That's true.
And the place where the doors are leaning against the house is exactly the same as the space on either side of it, which was all rebuilt in the last about 10 years ago.
Okay,
That's all new, there was all new construction 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
what you see beside it is the same thing as you see where it is, but that doesn't mean we won't move it if we need to.
should we be storing that stuff someplace else? Like maybe over at the highway barn or something? All that material? I mean, it's, I don't know what condition it's in. You know, it's been stored under tarps, but has anyone really investigated? June?
June?
I haven't investigated it for over a year, but I'd be willing to do that if someone would come along with me.
Okay.
If we move
This
that
is-
stuff off-site,
I'm sorry?
if we move that stuff off-site,
Mhm.
we've got to move it, then we've got to move it back over to the other place when we're actually going to use it. And other than the doors, it isn't in the way of doing the other job.
Okay, but do we really know the condition of the materials?
That's one of the things that will be investigated as part of going ahead with the Hearst house. Yeah.
I can actually look at that this week.
If you want help, June, just let me know when you're going because I'm pretty flexible right now with time during the day.
Okay,
So
maybe
just
we could
text
go.
me or call me and let me know.
Okay, we could go, I can go, Thursday is a little tough, but I can go tomorrow or Friday.
Friday's better for me. I have someone coming here to look at my house in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So tomorrow afternoon would work though.
Okay, I could do tomorrow afternoon. And if anyone else would want to come, that would be good too.
Yeah, I can't. I've only got my Mondays and Tuesdays right now.
Okay. Well,
I mean, will this project get going after town meeting? I mean, it would be really nice if it were done before fall.
Yes, what I really want right now is somebody that's got one of these post hole digger things. They can actually do the piers that we want. So I'm starting to look for somebody to do that. I haven't heard of anything. Somebody mentioned it recently on Facebook, but they didn't get any takers. So I don't know if there's anybody around in the town that's got it. But that's what we need, is to dig straight down holes so we can put in the concrete to piers to a foundation so the thing won't sink on us again.
Does the highway department have anything like that?
No,
They don't?
not for that kind of thing. No, I don't believe so. I'll check with them.
Yeah. All right, so I don't want that to fall off the agenda. I think
Yeah.
we ought to stay on the Hearst house.
Yeah,
That's one thing that we do have a little control over, and we ought to get it done.
yeah. June, you and I can talk about the finances again and deal with what we have to for the stalemate on that, because that's where the thing is really stopped at this point. Is how do we raise money when we don't know how much money we need? That's actually been holding it up for years already, so.
Do you want to meet with the society board
We will
about
do-
that or not?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, I have this week and part of next week. And then I have to return to New Hampshire for a while. If we could have a meeting, if we could have a meeting with the society board members sooner rather than later, that would help me.
Yeah, we
And
have to,
we don't necessarily have to meet on a Tuesday. We could meet unless,
we can meet whenever we can meet. I think that we should, well, let's talk about that separately after this meeting's over. I mean, we can get on the phone or whatever and talk about it, as to when we could meet with them. I don't want to, we have to talk about where we can meet, because we can't meet in the town building. If we're actually going to be in the same place together. And there's only 4 or 5 of us, so we ought to be able to do it and have 6-foot intervals and
yeah.
someplace.
I'd be happy to do it here, but my house is so small. I'm not sure if everyone showed up. I don't know if we could maintain the 6 feet.
Well, we can arrange a place to meet. It may not be in a usual place, but we don't have the public meeting problem that we do with the town boards. Okay, that one's that one. The historical room, we got that all straightened out finally. I got the braces from highway, and I put them on, and I got the building inspector down there, and he has taken down the closed do not enter sign. So we're back to using it. There's been some, and of course, but the building's closed, so we can't hold meetings there. But we can go in and work, 1 or maybe 2 people, maintaining social distancing, wearing masks. It's at the moment the only people who've got keys can go in the building, and I do have a key, so I can go in and I can take somebody in to go down there. But as a whole, I can't let other people in because that's part of the business of the whole place being locked up. But that is to be relaxed. The administrator spoke to the selectmen about it last night, and I think it's the 29th, the day of the election. They will have the first relaxation, which allows a little bit more going into the building. And then on July 6th, they're going to have it so that the people in the, so that people can make appointments to go in the building. In other words, if you wanted to see somebody in an office, the general public, they can enter the building by appointment by prior appointment to go and do business in the town offices. They have changed some of the doors in the offices so that they have the solid window and a little open place they can pass things through, and they've in the doors, and they've also, the places where you go into a counter, they've put up barriers so that the plexi barriers so that it'll reduce the amount of air moving between people and so forth. So they've done some changes there already in preparation for having the public in, but it's still going to be a step-by-step and slow thing to get back to normal. And I haven't heard anything about opening up other buildings to the public. The library thing still isn't, it's still not settled what's going to happen there, I don't think. But anyway, things are progressing very slowly back toward people getting into a public building. Yes, June.
So July 6th by appointment or June 29th by appointment?
July 6th by appointment.
Okay.
The June 29th is a little less certain to me as to exactly what it means. At any rate. Okay. I haven't done, I went and looked at outside equipment at the, at 19 Carter. I have not talked to Evie about it yet, but I'm gonna try now to talk to some of those different people about the HVAC procedures. And of course, we've got to deal with the fact that we'll have additional costs. So if we have to hire somebody to put it in, so we'll move ahead with that as we can. Yes.
Wasn't Margaret going to get back to you on the funding for that?
Oh, I guess I did ask the selectmen. That was the other thing we did say at the selectmen's meeting is, will we be able to do the funding on both the RFP, I mean, spending money out of that account and spending money out of this. And basically we were told that we would be able to do that, right? That was what I understood.
Okay.
Yeah. We did talk about that at the selectmen's meeting. I don't think there'll be any problem with it at this point.
Okay.
I've been wondering about it, but at this point, I think we're all right.
Now,
So does that actually mean that we can have it delivered?
That would mean we can do that, but I don't want to do that until we know how it's going to be put in.
Oh,
Because if we do that, we could be left with, you know, somebody that wants to put it in, but they don't want the particular materials. They'd rather use something else or something, you know? I don't mean the main machinery, but the other connections and those things. We have the list that we have is the one that Assabet wanted if they were going to put it in. So I just wanted, before I would actually go ahead with that, I'd make sure that that's what the other people would want, or that they would provide that way.
so what do you have to actually, you have to call the people that Assabet would have used? I'm just trying to.
No, we have the information on all that. Assabet was simply going to have the equipment delivered to us, and then they were going to come put it in. But I want to make sure that that's what somebody else wants if they're going to do the job, you know, the exact same things, and whether we should change the materials slightly or something.
So we have to choose the person who installs first.
That's right, and so that's the next first thing is to choose the person that's going to install and know how much that's going to cost. At any rate, Edith had a bunch of boxes. I went and got boxes from her of clothing and stuff that she's been packing, and I put them in the new building because I said there's no sense in going to the other one. So we've got another 2 more big boxes and 3 more big boxes and several more smaller things that are up there in the clothing department already.
is there anything else that we can move over there in the meantime that we're not going to worry about?
Well,
And one of the things I thought of was maybe we should have a unit in place, you know, downstairs. You know, a new unit along the wall, you know, where you're going to put the big unit. Get a new unit and assemble it and have it ready for stuff to go.
well, we got to move all the stuff that we've got, and we've got all the units that we could put in the building already.
Yeah, but I thought some of them weren't adequate according to the building inspector.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You know, that they should all be the heavy duty ones. Can't we go ahead and do that anyway?
the ones that aren't as heavy duty, he didn't say a word about when we were there. He wasn't complaining about those at all.
Yeah, I thought it was more about braces than the quality,
Braces.
right? The braces give it a little more stability.
my intention is that when they go up to the new building and we get them in place, we will do an attachment to the wall of each unit because it's a permanent location and stuff. So then we can do an attachment to the wall. And that will take care of the stability issue completely. It won't take a lot to do that. It won't take just a decent attachment to the wall will stabilize those so they couldn't go over like that.
Now,
And
go ahead.
the ones that went over are among the heaviest construction anyway. They just happened that they weren't secured and it just got enough movement so it started to go. An awful lot of that is about inertia. And if there's an attachment to the wall and you don't have the inertia, you can't get inertia going to move it in some other direction. We also are going to have those in smaller units. There's not going to be any big long range of shelves like that in the new place because there isn't room to do it.
So they're going to be configured differently?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
June?
Will we have an open space on the, as you come in? Can we actually use all those units along the perimeter of the interior?
I'll find the plan and put it before you so everybody knows at least what I've got proposed. Half of downstairs will be kind of open. The other half will have shelves coming out from the wall.
So they will actually be coming out at right angles?
Some of them, yeah. And then some others will be against the wall. And upstairs, they'll be freestanding in the middle. But there'll be a pretty good space upstairs. There has to be in order to, one side is all those big clothing boxes and you've got to have a good space to pull those out into. So we'll have plenty of big space upstairs there. And there'll be room for a table and stuff downstairs toward the back. Next to the stairway, there'll be a place for a table. And enough open space both in front and then behind the big map shelves so that we'll have decent area to pull those big folios out. Because that's been a problem where it is now.
I have some concerns about, well, I just think we need to be more thoughtful about what we accept in the future. And if something we're offered in the future is superior to, and our space is closing down on us, if we're offered something superior in the future to what we have in the same category, that we should think about how to offload some less important things. I mean, we just need to be a little more selective.
But can you also be selective about the things that you're putting in that building to begin with now? There may be some things that should just be in another place as storage and like not quality stuff.
And that's where the business of having an additional storage space is very important.
Right.
Absolutely right on the nose.
Right. But it also means you're discerning about what you're choosing to put in the building. So that's going to take some time to go through. You're not just shifting everything from that room into the new space.
That's right. And there's a couple of significant units or areas of stuff in the present room that I want to have go to the alternate location, hopefully in the fire station, but wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why. It's exactly your point. Now, what was the other thing that was on there? I'm looking at the agenda here, first area, structure survey of the historical collection. Old house. Yeah, I think we've, covered the agenda, though a little bit out of order, at least for the moment.
On this historical collection, again, moving stuff to the building. Are there things in the historical room right now that we know we're not going to move over there?
I think I would say so, yes.
Okay.
And as soon as we can confirm the alternate space, we can start moving some of that to the alternate space.
Okay.
That would be something like the, don't we have a fire, like a pumping? Does that have to be in the new building? Can't that be offloaded somewhere else? That's a,
That depends on the security in the other place. That's really an important piece, and it's something that needs to be stored in a good place because it's got ornamental painting on it that we want to preserve that paint. So you don't want it to be in a place that might freeze or anything like that. We could discuss that one as to which place it would go.
yeah, because it's an unwieldy shape and restricts
Yeah, but
movement.
when we got done putting all the stuff in the historical room, that was one thing that didn't have a home. Okay? And then because of that, it's kind of been in the way the whole time. And no matter what we do in the present place with the present stuff, it's not going to quite have a good home. We need to plan a good home for it in a new place. And I agree that obviously that's the case. Yeah.
Could we store it in the Hearst house when that's built?
No, because that would be cold in the winter. It wouldn't be good for the paint. I'm not going to say that, but the Hearst house, when that's built, is another place we could put a few things, as long as they don't require any climate control. Maybe we need to look into maybe we need to talk to somebody about the paint issue on that, as to whether I've just seen too many things that have been in a cold attic, a hot attic and a cold attic and those kinds of things that have deteriorated because of that, and particularly finishes and paint and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the one thing on that piece that I'm concerned about is the ornamental painting. Mm-hmm. Look at it when you're in there again. Look at that, because you can see that we don't want that ornamental painting to go downhill.
Is there a treatment that can be done to that to preserve it?
Might be a little bit, but the big thing is that it needs a good environment.
Also, it should be photographed in detail so that we could reproduce it if we had to someday, or somebody else who comes after us. Yeah, it's been, we have some photos, but not the detailed photos we should have, you're right. I've also had, in regard to collection stuff, we had a communication to First Parish Church from a man in New Hampshire. And he sent some photos to us, to the church, and needless to say, they ended up in my hands. And I've been looking at them. There are 3 exterior photos, and these are printed from glass plates. These are modern prints from old glass plates. Apparently, the guy has got a lot of photographic stuff that somebody took years ago. And the 3 photos of buildings are the meeting house and 2 pictures of the present bank, the Guy Sawyer House in the corner of Pleasant Street. And those are they were taken around 1895. The front photo of the house is the one that's in the Houghton history of that house,
of that as the hats on house or whatever it's called. And so I know when they were taken, and he's apparently got the original plates for those. I don't know yet whether he has any other buildings. He sent us a lot of pictures of people, most of which I cannot identify, although I'm going to take them over and compare them with some other photos in the historical collection, see if I can pick up even one or two. But he also says he's going to contact the Historical Society at some point. So it's really interesting because he seems to have a treasure trove of stuff. Exactly how much of it is Berlin remains to be seen. And that's pretty exciting. The picture of the meeting house is one that I've seen before. I know we've got a print of it somewhere, but it's not one of the primary ones. It's got the blinds are off of the top story. The pointed ones up on the lantern of the tower are off it. And those are, I've seen that picture before, but I've not seen it reproduced a lot. So it's very interesting, and I don't know what else there may be in that. The man had his grandfather's mother, something like that, was brought up by the Peters family that lived in the big house. And that is apparently the connection. And we don't know the connection. I'm wondering whether the girl's mother was maybe doing domestic work for the Peters family or something like that. And she was there with her 2 or 3 kids too. I don't know. I'm trying to find anything for a shred in that regard. But the kids show up, I think 2 of them, their marriages are recorded in Berlin. I found a lot of their births in West Boylston. So I've been looking up some about that family so I can converse and give him something back and in the process of this, and then see what may develop. But this may be a potentially very exciting thing for some additional material that we've never seen. Who knows what they might have. Elaine?
I had a visitor to the farm along that same line. I had a visitor to the farm just 2 days ago. And she lives in Marlboro, Glenda Jones. She was named after Blinky. And she has all of Blinky's papers from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants them.
Cool.
And yeah. So we got into a little discussion. So she is going to get back to me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you're talking to her again, we have a few pages of journal notes from Blinky from World War II,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a few other items that he gave the collection some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want that to mention in terms of the fact that he had given us some material in the past.
Right. Well, she seemed pleased that we were interested. I did express an interest, and she seemed pleased because the family doesn't know what to do with it, and nobody really wants it. They have someone looking at it right now, and she's going to find out what the status is. Okay. Mm-hmm. And get back to me. So I'll let you know.
That would be, well, 2 of his sons have passed away, so he only has one of his sons that's still alive. That's
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Blinkhorn. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, George, who was never married.
Well, this is his niece, Glenda. She said she was named after Blinky.
Oh, former Glenda Wilson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she lives in Marlboro now.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Yeah. And that would make sense that she was a niece. Her mother and Blinky were brother and sister.
Right.
June?
Are they letters or you're not sure?
She said papers from World War II tells all about the boys from Berlin and where they were stationed.
So it's a narrative, but you're not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, I knew Glenda when we were kids. She lived across the street from me.
I figured she She said she grew up in that house. Yeah,
Yeah, she grew up at where Carol McCulley lived.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That would be a good find, and
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah. She said he seemed to keep tabs on all the boys
Yeah.
from Berlin.
Yeah. Yep. And that would be useful too, because it might help us with the units that some of the people were in. We know some things, but there's stuff that we don't know about where somebody served. And we've got one case where we've got a man that was that died in the service in apparently Iceland, working for the Army Corps of Engineers, and he's been on our list of people who died in the war. Ad infinitum, he's on the plaque at the Memorial School as died in the war. We can't find his unit information when he died in order to get him a gravestone. He's in an unmarked grave in South Berlin. And I've been working with the veterans agent trying to get that accomplished. And he's hunted and hunted for him in all in different states and from Washington D.C. and everything else, and we can't find him in the veterans list of the government. So and until we can find that, we can't get him a gravestone. So you just don't know. It's crazy. And I found a news item in a newspaper in Maine about his death. And he was a member of a VFW unit up there, but we can't find the information that you need for the government to do a stone from. So anything you find like that if somebody's written about some information down, it might give us a hint of where to find information on somebody. So it'd be very valuable to have that kind of material.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to get, we've got good biographical information on the Civil War guys that Mr. Houghton accepted, and we don't have that for the 20th century people. Some of them are people we know about, but a lot of them aren't. And biographical information on, especially the ones who passed away in the war, is really a priority. So that's good stuff. Anybody else? Is there anything else you want to bring up at the meeting?
That's all I've got at the moment.
I'm very hopeful I can put a lot more time into some things as soon as we get past town meeting. We've really taken a lot of time because it's going to be an outdoor meeting. It's going to be quite unusual, and we've got all kinds of people helping with it, and we also have to arrange to make it all come out right. So we're trying to make it as scripted as we can, so it'll be an easy meeting. But I'm hopeful it will be. But that means a lot more time and preparation. June, did you have your hand up again?
I can't remember now what. Oh, I wanted to ask Karen if she was certain about tomorrow afternoon or whether she wanted to do Friday at.
No, tomorrow afternoon is good. Just let me know what time is better. Like call me afternoon time, and then we can set up a specific time to meet. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I just have one other question. I just thought, with regard to the Bullard House.
Yep.
Can I take Karen on as not a consultant, but someone to
work with.
To work with, yeah. Like as a subcommittee, it's not really a committee, but can we
Sure.
do that?
Why not?
Are you okay with that?
If you're working on a job, you can talk to somebody else about it. Why not?
Right. It's always good to have somebody else to.
Yeah.
And I didn't think June was interested in that, right?
I'll be a drudge worker, but the orchestrating the plan, I'm happy to have you go
Okay.
do that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to tackle organization now?
Sure. I still stick by my original motion about June being the new chair. I know she's not a willing, but I think we need a change, Barry. I really do. Anybody else have anything to say about?
Well, I would ask Barry what he thinks. I'm very new on the commission, and
Right.
I would love to hear how Barry feels and how June feels.
Well, think about what you want to do. The first thing you've got to do is figure out how to post meetings on Zoom. I had a nightmare trying to do it this month because you have to put all that Zoom stuff in the
Agenda.
call. And Mary said, "Oh, just paste it and copy and paste it in." Well, I had no luck copying and pasting it in. I tried 3 or 4 times. I ended up copying it on a piece of paper and typing it all in. That's one of the things you got to do to call meetings and do that. There's a whole list of things that we haven't dealt with any much for demolitions for a while. I had a building permit come before me, which was a 1970s house that they wanted to build a new deck on the back of it or something. I mean, it wasn't anything historic anyway. But we do have that, and at the moment, I'm the one that's getting the referrals of building permits. So if somebody wants to get that job, they can have that job too.
It's not, we don't have to vote on things like that as a committee?
If it's anything that is of any substance for us, theoretically, we only deal with things that are 50 years old and more. This is not quite 50 years old. I'm almost at a point where I think it would be better if it was 70, because I'm not sure we want to deal with stuff that was built in the 1970s. And 50 years ago is now 1970. As a whole, it's, in terms of determining jurisdiction, is it something that concerns us under the bylaw? I think one person can decide that whether it's at all under the bylaw. If it's possibly under the bylaw, then yes, it would come to the commission to deal with. But I can't, I mean, every building permit that they have for to tear down an outbuilding that isn't terribly old or important, or everything that is everything to deal with a building modification where somebody's building another bedroom out of their house or something on a house that's 1975. I don't think that we really want to take time in commission meetings to deal with them. Maybe you do. I don't know. June?
Can we, as a commission, can we adjust 50 years to 70 years, or is that part of the bylaw?
That's in the bylaw.
So we'd have to have a, something on the warrant sponsored by us to change that?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I mean, admittedly, there's going to be a point when you say, gee, some things, I mean, there are some things that have come along that concern me in regard to, well, for instance, you take a house like Sally Bergen's, which,
Right.
like 1955, but it's really architecturally very important for the town.
Right.
And so there are things that are newer that have historical importance. At the same time, most of the things that were built in 1955, you wouldn't classify that way. And at some point in the future, the ranch houses of 1955, it's going to get to the point where we're going to want to see at least a couple of them that stay when,
Yes.
when a lot of others have bitten the dust.
Right.
So it's good to have something there, but yeah, I think we could think about the possibility of changing that number. I don't think that right now, there's not much that would come up that was built in the 1950s that the commission would likely be concerned about. But right now, if it was, we would need to at least look at it and have a determination that we didn't consider it historically important. Our first determination is whether it's historically important or not. And if it's less than 50 years old, it can be eliminated on that basis without an action of the commission. Larry Brandt just didn't refer things to us. Now the system is electronic. All the building permits come in, and it's an electronic system that the fire department has to sign off on, the tax collector has to sign off on, and so forth for each building permit. And they've simply added the historical thing onto it, and so that we get a reference on it. And the other thing that we've had in recent times, though it hasn't gone anywhere still yet, is one of the outbuildings at Coldwell's, which might just be old enough. It is old enough to be part of to be over 50 years old, but it's not an important building. It's got 4 overhead doors in the front of it, and it's a shed, and it's not, it sits on piers and stuff. It's nothing of importance. There are several buildings in that complex that are 3 or 4, but most of it's not. And so that one, while they haven't demolished it yet, I would pretty much eliminate it. They didn't have good information, and therefore it's still been held in abeyance because they hadn't got enough detailed information about it. But I've been watching that one, but I don't think it's anything we're interested in. I'm waiting for something to come on a piece of paper that actually verifies which one of the buildings it is. I've talked to somebody, so I know, but I haven't seen it on a piece of paper yet. June?
Would it be helpful to you to not be just the only person to get these, so that someone else?
I don't think that's a big issue, but it's something that, I don't know, if I'm not chair, then maybe I need to pass that on to somebody else to do. I mean, there's a few things that I've done as chair. I mean, I can be chair. I don't have to do everything just because I'm chair. Anybody, I mean, the only thing you do is chair the meeting and perhaps handle some things, but some of the other things, as we've already started, I'm with trying to spin things off, so I don't have so much on my plate. June?
I really don't want to be the chair of the commission. I'm happy to take on more responsibility besides just being clerk. I think our major areas of responsibility are the legal aspect, which is the demolition responsibility, the bylaw responsibility. We have the Bullard House responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, it's debatable how much responsibility we have for the Hearst House. I think morally we have a responsibility to it. The collection and its, you know, the oversight of the collection is a big thing, is a time consuming. I find it really kind of an onerous responsibility because we have so much stuff in the Bullard House that's just random. I mean, that's how I see it. It's just random and just there with no, and now we don't have a way to work on it. I'm assuming that that's also considered a building they don't want us in. but I think there are ways to attack all the stuff in the Bullard House so that it's somewhat categorized, or at least stored without the dust falling on it all the time. But anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. That's another whole aspect of the collection besides our official storage that we have.
But we need to get more society people involved in the collection work. We need more hands doing that. And I think that that's one of the things we've got to move ahead with is getting ourselves some. We've had other people like Alma and Louise Woodhead and Mim and so forth that used to do some work on that, and they're gone. So we really haven't done enough about replacing people that work with the collection. Edith continues to do a lot of work with the collection for us. And she's also probably the person that knows more about a lot of the collection in some cases than I do. And I certainly have had people in the past that knew more about various parts of the collection than I did. And I would love to see, you know, us develop that, but we need to work on developing that to build more of a custodial committee in the society that will help us with that work.
How many
Well-
people, how many active members do you have in the society?
Well, that's an interesting problem, and that's the society hasn't kept up very well at collecting dues, and the result is that we aren't sure how many there are, to be honest. We've got, I don't know, we've certainly got 30, 40 people, but we used to have 100. And with a little work, I think we could build it back to that. But
Maybe
we have
that could be just, maybe you should take that up at the board meeting.
yeah,
I think
June.
that the society and the commission should, well, I haven't really thought about the mechanics of it, but we need some workers who will go to the Bullard House and try to get our stuff in better order. I'm willing to do that. I'm not, you know, I don't want to be too much involved with the structural survey and how to go about renovating the building as a piece of architecture, but I think I can make a contribution to organizing the things that are there, that are just there. I mean, there are things there that are undercover, but there are many, many things, photographs and ephemera, that are at risk.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
things need
Yeah.
to at least be boxed in some way.
Yeah, and labeled.
So
And
that
have
they're,
and a list, you know, a master list. Doesn't have to be perfect, or it just has to be a record and, you know, dated and who worked on it, so that if you need to ask a question, just like we do in room 113, a similar thing, only perhaps less. I mean,
Well,
when we're there, we really do try to package something up so that we don't have to do it again until it's used.
Elaine?
yeah. Maybe if we, you know, we know there, some of those piles are from specific people. If we can get them into totes, at least to protect them. And maybe, you know, when we're moving into the curatorial building, you know, we can get that stuff out of the Bullard House. And then, you know, deal with it there when we're in the curatorial house. I mean, curatorial building. I mean, because we're gonna have to get the stuff out of there eventually, because of the work that will have to go on. I mean, no workman's gonna want to be moving that stuff around. We don't want them to.
Well, when we define the areas we'll work, any job will be done in, then we'll be able to decide where we can leave some stuff and get the rest out. June?
I would like to start doing that soon, if we're allowed.
I don't think there's any reason we can't go to the Bullard House and work. Again, we need to do social distancing and masks because it's a public building and so forth. But beyond that, I don't know why we can't go in there and work. We can't have 5 people in there all at once in the same room, but we certainly could have 2, or
Have two.
maybe even one in another room or whatever else.
Right, yeah.
Plenty to
I
do.
think, I will become available on Wednesdays, maybe in another month. But, you know, on towards the cooler weather, I'll have much more time to be able to help with that.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And we do have some boxes. Edith has ordered a few more. I just found out about, oh yeah, she's got them in place. She's got some up at her house. I guess the society is going to pay for those because we haven't talked about it at all before. So we do have, ooh. We haven't spent our money for this year.
Well, shame on us.
And we got to spend it before the end of the month. We got to spend it before the end of this month.
How much is there left?
I think it's $600 there.
How much?
600.
Hmm.
$600. We haven't had any hearings that we've had to hold. So we didn't have to do any advertising for hearings this year on the demolition delay. And so we could spend that on either boxes or other stuff.
I know June was concerned about storing, I'm sorry, there's some work going on here. I was hoping we'd be done before that, but I thought she needed some sleeves and things like that for storage of pictures.
I
Yeah.
did, Edie did order, I forget, I think maybe 100 photo sleeves, small ones, because we seem to have a lot of small.
Well, maybe we should get more of that.
Well, I think we better use what she ordered. And I think
Have we
that,
got a bill for it? Have we
What?
got a bill for it that we could pay?
Edie must,
Reimburse somebody on it?
it's Edie who paid and ordered.
Okay, I'll talk to Edith and see if I can get bills from that. We could pay for some of the stuff that she's already gotten.
Yeah, because just the sleeves were like $70, I think. And then I asked her to order a ream of Permalife so that we could interleave pages safely if we had a multiple page document. And I'm pretty sure she got that also. So,
Well, of course, we also still have a spending freeze on for the town. So if we have a few bills, we could put those in. But if we don't spend it all this year, we'll be viewed as good people because the town is worried about cash flow.
Okay.
Due to the depression and surrounding the COVID-19 business.
Right.
Tax revenues are down, and we're worried about how much money will come from the state and all those things for the next year. So,
Right.
Anything else today,
No.
June?
is it possible to go into the Bullard House maybe? I know that you're busy. I'm just wanting to do something before I have to go back to New Hampshire.
Well, I'm busy, but I'm also available, and at least for here and there. I mean, a lot of the time I'm available, but at the same time I've got things to do. So
Yeah. No
I'm happy to give some time to it, even this week, an hour or two here or there.
Okay, well, perhaps we could make a plan for that, just to make a list of where the random piles are, and just to get a mental picture of, I mean, I can remember where some of them are in the little tiny room upstairs.
Well, the little tiny room is the one I was just thinking about really wading into.
Okay, well,
because
maybe
that one,
just take that on.
A lot of that stuff was from Mim, but not all of it. And the little tiny room would be a good one for us to attack first.
Yeah, maybe it's just less overwhelming just to have one space to deal with first.
Well, I would be willing, June, tomorrow after we look at the Hearst wood, to just go in there and make a list room by room of what is in there, and you know, just an overview of the kind of stuff that's in there.
But I know most of that, but the thing that we need to do is go through the stuff
Yeah.
and contain it in some way and have it so that it's not so confused and so that it could be moved easily.
Okay.
I think maybe Friday, if you have any time, either one of you, especially Barry.
I think Friday's okay.
Okay. I guess right now it doesn't matter when on Friday. We could just get a sense of that little room and reorder some of the piles.
What I would do is bring some of that stuff downstairs where we can work.
Okay.
And it would be, it's going to be hot Friday, and that room won't
Oh, it
be
is?
to be
Oh.
itself. But we can move stuff downstairs and go through it.
Okay.
Yeah. Pick a time.
Well, maybe the morning would be better if it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Like 11, or is that too late?
11 on Friday.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn.
No reorganization?
Well, it hasn't
We
happened yet. I'm waiting.
No.
Wow.
Um,
Or do we want, I mean, we also can do that when we get a fifth member, so that, I mean, when we get a fifth member, we should certainly look at that as a total group and see what the fifth member brings us in terms of talent.
Is there anybody that someone has thought of besides waiting for Bob, if he should be able to join us after the elections? And
Oh, well, I don't, if he's going to keep the other position, he can't get this one.
I know, I thought I might,
You might talk him into doing that.
I did already speak to him about when he feels that he's made a contribution as a registrar, and that the immediate crisis of the election is past, that he might consider resigning and joining us. But still, that doesn't mean that we couldn't search for somebody else.
Last month, Bob talked about some things he'd help with, and I'm sure he would help with those things anyway. Moving things and that kind of stuff. And I need to, as soon as I can get in the Red Fire Station, which I hope we can after the 29th anyway, maybe we can move the stuff that's downstairs upstairs and start doing some of that I need a second person to help move.
And maybe get the doors out of the Bullard House too.
Well, at least part of the thing is that we'll be moving toward doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's already a pile of doors at the other place, so we'll work on the rest of it.
So I move that we reorganize at a time when we have a fifth member.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second,
Anything to be said on the motion? I vote aye. June?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
Karen?
aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Elaine moves.
second,
Karen, was that a second?
yes.
Okay. Motion to adjourn is moved and seconded. All those in favor? I vote aye. June?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
We're done. But Friday at 11, we're going to work on things at the Bullard House, and you also have an appointment that you and Karen are going to look at Hearst House stuff when?
The sheathing boards and the doors, the condition of those on Wednesday about 1:30. Is that good?
Okay, call me.
Call you first.
The guy who's coming here doesn't come until later. Yeah.
Okay, and I can go later. It doesn't matter.
All right,
Okay.
good. Okay.
Thank you all very much.